Hey everyone, and welcome to the final meeting of the Tropical Rum Society for 2023. New Year's Eve, and we're managing to get all 24 done, so feeling quite proud of myself. I'm happy to have achieved that, but thank you for joining me along the way. If you haven't been subscribed this whole year, what have you been doing? But if you have been, then thank you so much for following the journey and joining me for all of these different rums that we've been through. Hope you've been enjoying them. I hope you have actually been, getting to taste some of the things that I've been talking about if you have had that experience. But either way, thanks so much for being here. Today, we're looking at our final rum for the year, and it is the Bacardi Ocho Rye Cask. This is another one that I actually picked up in the Singapore airport on my way back. So I haven't tasted this one, not really sure what it's going to be like, but we'll jump into it and find out. So as I'm sure you know, we have looked at Bacardi before. Again, I will drop some links in the description down below. I'm pretty sure it was only like 2-3 weeks ago that we were looking at the Quattro, but this is a step up from that. So the Ocho, double the age, 8 years minimum aging, but again, it's a Bacardi product, so the brand is very, very well known. I'm sure you would have seen it, and this is one of their more premium offerings. So I couldn't find really in-depth information about the finishing process online. There wasn't anything on the Bacardi website or on this bottle itself, but from what I did find from some other sources, it seems to be possibly in the range of 2 to 5 months and potentially in Angel's Envy barrels. Now, that information is coming from Forbes, I believe. I'll put it down in the description and hopefully on the screen here as well. But obviously they are not a rum company and they're not exactly in the world of rum. So take that with a grain of salt. It might be true, it might not be, but either way, it's some sort of rye cask that this has been finished in for somewhere in the range of a few months after an at least 8-year aging process in the standard Bacardi oak barrels. Either way, regardless of what brand of whiskey, I'm sure it's going to taste nice. It's going to give that little bit extra to this Ocho. So let's start to experience it. In terms of presentation, this one definitely is a cut above what you would usually see in Bacardi. Even just a few weeks ago when we were looking at the Quattro, that had that little metal screw-off cap. That's very common. I'm sure you would have seen it before. But this is actually a much nicer looking bottle. So we've got some embossing here on the label and getting that Bacardi name actually stamped into the bottle. We have a cork top as well, which is always a nice touch. And just generally, this does seem to have quite a premium feel to the look of it. It does seem to be something that, when you sit it on the shelf, looks like it's going to be pretty decent. Now, for those of you who have been around for a while, you might know that I am a big fan of whiskey, especially a nice rye whiskey. So I'm quite excited to see what this one's like. I'm hoping that it's going to have a little bit of that rye kind of spiciness that's in there. So I think it's time to get this bottle cracked open and see what it's like. So as I said, cork top here, so let's see how it pops. Nice, very satisfying. And we'll get this poured into the glass. Trying not to pour too much, even though it is New Year's Eve, so we're all about celebrating. I think that's probably going to be enough. I'll put that cork back in. All right, let's take a look here. So immediately, the first thing that I'm seeing is a really nice kind of copper color to the rum itself. Quite pretty. The light comes through it in a little bit of a gold tinge around the edges. Not seeing too much red. It's not really a deep brown, but it is quite a nice color. So moving on to the smell. Immediately, I'm getting that kind of familiar Bacardi base level notes to it. It definitely smells reminiscent of most of the Bacardis that I have had a sniff of, but with a few extra things on top. So very sweet smelling. Not really getting too much kind of rye spiciness at the moment. Let's get a little bit deeper in here. Okay, a deeper breath, a little bit closer in, does have a little bit more of that kind of rye influence, but not a huge amount. This does smell quite pleasant. It's 40% ABV. Oh, let me just double check that. I know that Ocho is, but this one I think, because it's a special edition, 45% ABV. So a little bit stronger there, but really doesn't smell like it. I'm not getting much alcohol out of the smell of this at all, really. Very pleasant, nice, woody. Smells like it's going to be quite rich. But yes, very, very lovely smell. And I think that means it's time to give it a taste. Very easy to drink. That's nice and smooth in terms of its experience. It's a little bit rough and fiery, definitely more so than I expected based on the nose, but not in a terrible way. Like it works. Definitely getting some warmth through my chest here, but that's quite easy to drink and quite pleasant. I'm going to have another sip. I like that quite a bit. Now, interestingly, if you gave this to me without telling me what it was, I don't think I would pick it as a rum. It's definitely got a lot of oak flavor here, and definitely got some of that rye influence. So it almost tastes a bit like a whiskey, but like a very light, just kind of fruity whiskey almost. So if you gave it to me without knowing what it was, I don't think I would immediately pick it as a rum, but I would enjoy it. I know that. So overall with this one, I'm quite impressed. Like, I was not expecting a huge amount of difference from kind of the standard Bacardi with, you know, a little bit more age to it. But this is actually a very different, very unique flavor. So I'm quite impressed that Bacardi's actually kind of gone out of their regular wheelhouse and tried something a little bit experimental, and it seems to have paid off. I'm quite a fan. Another sip here. Really nice, really nice. I could sip on this for quite some time. I don't know how it would go mixing, especially if you're making like a tiki cocktail. I don't think this would be quite right for that. It's got it's too different from what you would need for a rum to go into a cocktail, I think. But sitting with it, very, very nice to have by itself. So on that very happy note and on this very happy rum, I think that's going to do it both for today's meeting as well as the meetings for 2023. As I said at the beginning, thank you so much for joining me this year. I've had a great time on this journey, had some very interesting rums, had some very interesting things that I've learned from the people down in the comments. If you've got anything interesting that you want to say about this rum in particular, drop it down below. Always interested to see what you have to say. And I, highly recommend you go out and try and grab a bottle of this if you can find it. It's a very, very good one to finish on, I would say. So that's going to do it. Meetings adjourned for the year. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.